Good morning students. Today we are moving on to yet another interesting chapter, excretory products and their elimination. So in this chapter we are going to deal about the excretory system. Okay, so the main excretory system is what? The kidney, right? Now excretion. What do you mean by excretion? Excretion is a process by which we are eliminating the waste out of our body, excepting the undigested food. Undigested food we call it as egestion. So means giving out or expelling out the undigested food, we call it as what? We call them as egestion. Other than that, the salts, urea, all other nitrogenous waste which is eliminated from our body, that process we call it as what? We call them as excretion. Okay. Now excretory products, when you are saying they are nitrogenous in nature, which means they contain a huge amount of nitrogen, because you know protein is the one which is making up our body. It is a body building factor, and protein contain more, they contain nitrogen. So when these nitrogens are being broken down, okay, so the waste, when you are saying, it contains an excess of nitrogen, and hence the term what we use is nitrogenous waste. The nitrogenous waste can be of three types. What are they? One is ammonia, second one is urea, and third one is uric acid. The ammonia is the most poisonous one, and the least poisonous one is what? The uric acid. Okay. So this ammonia, when you are seeing, it is the most toxic form. Toxic, you know, it's a very toxic form. So this ammonia is excreted by the aquatic animals. Why? Because they contain water. So the ammonia which is released by these organisms get dissolved in water, causing less harm. Okay. The other one is your urea. So mammals, when you are seeing, we are excreting urea in the form of urine. The urea is eliminated from our body. Okay. And the birds, the reptiles as well as the birds, when you are seeing, they used to give out nitrogenous waste in the form of uric acid. They do not have a fluid like urine. Instead they have what? A semi-solid urine. So that one is what? That is uric acid. Okay. So what are the three nitrogenous waste when you are saying? They are ammonia, urea, and uric acid. Okay. So ammonia, urea, uric acid are the major forms of nitrogenous waste which are excreted by the animals. Ammonia is the most toxic form, I told, and it requires a lot of water so that it gets dissolved in the water and then it is eliminated. Whereas uric acid, being the least toxic, I told you, can be removed without much wastage of water. Say they are losing very less amount of water because their urine, as I said, aves urine, they are semi-solid in nature, it's not that watery. Okay. So that is regarding the three nitrogenous waste. So based on the form of nitrogenous waste which has been eliminated from the body, organism can be classified into three types. Okay. So first one is aminotelism, second one is ureotelism, and third one is uricotelism. Ammonotelism is ammonia excretion with the help of ammonia. Ureotelism is excretion with the help of, in the form of urea, and uricotelism is the excretion with the help of what? Excretion with the help of uric acid. So moving on to the first one, that is ammonotelism. So the process of excreting ammonia is called as what? Ammonotelism. Who do this one? Most bony fishes, aquatic amphibians, aquatic insects are all aminotelic. So these animals are aminotelic in nature. They excrete ammonia. Okay, their excretory nitrogenous waste is in the form of ammonia. Ammonia is readily soluble in water and it is excreted by their body surface. Okay, from the body surface, this ammonia is a gas-like form which moves out from their body surface by simple diffusion. Diffusion, you know, inside the body of the animal it is more and outside it is less. In the water it is less. So from the body the gases, ammonia, diffuse out through the pores. Wherever you can find the body surfaces, pores are present through that, or through gill surfaces also you can find gills, you know, isn't it, the breathing bud. So through that also what is eliminated? Ammonia is eliminated. Okay. So they are eliminated in the form of what? Ammonium ions, which reacts with water and it is made harmless. Okay, it's not that toxic. So these are some of the organisms which has been shown that they exhibit aminotelism form of excretion. Okay. Next is your ureotelism. So we, the mammals, terrestrial amphibians, marine fishes, when you are seeing, some marine means what, in the salt water. So most of them are ureotelic animals. Okay, so they excrete in the form of what? Urea. Okay, ammonia produced by metabolism is converted into, so they are producing ammonia. So for excretion, when you are saying ammonia is produced, but this ammonia is getting converted into what? It is getting converted into urea. Where? In the liver. So in these animals, the ammonia is getting converted. Ammonia in the liver is getting converted into urea. Okay, so this urea, when you are seeing, is released where? Into the blood. So from the blood capillaries of the which is present nearby to the liver, what they do is that they they absorb the urea and it is moving into the blood. From the liver it is moving into the blood. The blood is moving to the kidney. In the kidney, you know, there is a structure called as nephrons. What is the structure called? The nephrons are the filtering units. They take out this urea is getting filtered and it is moving out of our body in the form of urine. Okay. So that is how it is taking place. So ammonia in the liver is converted into urea, urea is diffusing into the blood and it is reaching the kidney where the nephrons are converting them into urine form and then they are releasing. Okay, along with the water it is mixed and it is being released along with the urine. So these are organisms which you can find, they are ureotelic in nature, means they excrete in the form of urine. Okay. Next is your uricotelism. Uricotelism, I told you, they are like reptiles, birds, land snails, insects. Some of the insects are uricotelic in nature. Okay. So here excretory product is what? It is uric acid, and in the form of pellets or paste like structure it will be coming out, isn't it? So you would have seen lizards, there is no loss of water, means no loss means a very little loss of water is noted. So those organisms we call it as what? Uricotelic organism which excrete in the form of uric acid, the nitrogenous waste. So these are some of the examples of animals which are uricotelic in nature, which excretes in the form of uric acid. The next we are moving on to excretory organ and the organism. So we should know some of the excretory organ and the name of the organisms which are having those excretory organ. It can be asked as 1 mark question. Okay. So protonephridia or flame cells are the excretory organ, like our excretory organ is what? The lungs, isn't it? The kidney, isn't it? Now here when you are seeing the excretory organs in case of platyhelminthes or rotifers, okay, some annelids, amphioxus, these all animals we have learned in the animal kingdom, isn't it? So in these cases it is nephridia, protonephridia or flame cells are the excretory organs. Nephridia is the excretory organ in earthworm and annelids. We have learned Malpighian tubes and cockroach we have discussed is the excretory organ. In prawns when you are seeing it is antennal glands or gland glands which are present in the antenna. So they are excreting as acting as what? The excretory organs. So in this you just learn the types of excretory organs which the organisms possess. Okay. Now moving on to the excretory system, human urinary system, the excretory system. The parts of the excretory system is very important. Now you listen, there are 2 blood vessels which are present in the excretory system. The 2 blood vessels, one which is marked red is the artery which carries oxygenated but impure blood. So artery is carrying what blood? It is carrying oxygenated, which means they contain oxygen. Okay, so artery is carrying oxygenated blood but it is impure. Impure means what? They are having the impurities, that is their blood contains this urea and this urea has to be excreted. So urea loaded blood is moving into the 2 kidneys with the with the help of what? It is moving with the help of the arteries. Since all the arteries means the things which are related to the parts which are related to kidney we use the term renal. What is the term used? Renal. Okay, like parts which are confirmed to lungs we use pulmonary, isn't it? Parts which are confirmed to heart we use cardiac, isn't it? So like that in case of kidney means the excretory system, the kidney, we are using the term renal. Okay, so the renal artery is bringing oxygenated but impure blood, it is moving into the kidney, and in the kidney the filtration is taking place and the blood is converted into Deoxygenated. Deoxygenated because it is giving all the cells the oxygen, respiration is carried out and carbon dioxide is released. So now what in the veins, what will happen? The blue color which is coming out is the vein. Okay. So the renal vein. The renal vein, when you are seeing, the renal vein is leading to inferior vena cava. Last class we discussed. From bottom, the vein which is carrying, we call it as what? The inferior vena cava. From top, the vein which is carrying, we call it as superior vena cava. So this vein is carrying the deoxygenated pure blood. Pure means why? Because they have here filtration process is over and the pure blood is coming to the vein, through the vein. Okay. So that is the difference what you have to note. So renal artery is carrying oxygenated but impure blood. Renal vein is carrying deoxygenated, which means carbon dioxide rich but pure blood. So through here the blood is going, getting filtered, and through here the blood is leaving the kidney. Okay. So through the veins it is leaving the kidney to the heart, and from there it will move to the lungs where the carbon dioxide will be given out. Clear? So renal artery and renal vein is clear. Now moving on to the other part, these two are the kidneys. Okay. And on the above portion of the kidney you can find a triangular structure present, that we call it as the adrenal gland. What is the gland? Adrenal gland. It is one of the endocrine gland which is triangular in nature, present above the kidney. Okay. And then you are having from the kidney there is a tubes which are coming down, isn't it? So you note that is the tube which we call it as what? The ureter. What is the tube called? It is called as the ureter. So here the urine is formed and the urine is moving through this ureter, and this urine is reaching where? The sac-like structure which is present here, which we call it as the urinary bladder. In the urinary bladder it is stored, and then thereafter you can find through an opening called as urethra, the urine is being given out. So from there what is happening? The urine is moving out. So from which part the urine is moving out? It is moving out through the urethra. So you have to remember the structure. So you are having the renal artery, the renal vein, adrenal gland. Thereafter you can find what? From the kidney you can find that ureter is coming. So just look into the spelling, ureter. From there it is moving into the urinary bladder. From the urinary bladder it will go out through the opening called as the urethra when there is a reflex, isn't it? So when it is getting filled, the urinary bladder, there will be a reflex action, and that will help in the elimination of the urine. Okay. Now moving on to the structure of the kidney, internal section of the kidney or the longitudinal section. Longitudinal section means if you are, this is the kidney, you are cutting it like this. Okay. So just like this, if you are cutting it, when you are cutting that one from the top to the bottom, just like that, and inside if you are viewing it, the kidney structure will be somewhat like this. Okay. So the kidney is divided into two portions. So the outer part we call it as the cortex, and the inner part we call it as the medulla. So the outer one is called as the cortex and the inner one is called as the medulla. Okay. So the outer cortex, so here you can find that is cortex, and the inner one is what? The inner one is called as the medulla. Okay. So in the medulla you can find this pyramid like structures. Pyramids you know, isn't it? So this one we call it as what? Pyramids. Triangular structures we call it as pyramids. So here you can find many pyramid like structures, isn't it, in the medulla. So that pyramid like structures we call it as medullary pyramid. Okay. And this kidney, if you look into it, is being covered by a hard covering called as the renal capsule. The kidney is covered by what? The renal capsule. Now from the cortex you can find towards the medulla. So this is the cortex and this one is the medulla. So from the cortex towards the medulla there are structures which are getting entry into, that one we call it as what? The renal column. So from the cortex it is moving into the inside. Okay. So that one we call it as what? We call them as the renal column of Bertini. Okay. So the depressions through which they are getting into the medullary pyramid, so that part we call it as what? We call it as the calyx. And in the kidney I told you, oxygenated but impure blood is brought by the renal artery, deoxygenated but pure blood is taken by what? The renal vein. Okay. And thereafter you can find the ureter. Ureter, you know, the ureter, which is the ureter here I told you, this is the ureter, isn't it? So the ureter is getting entry into, after this ureter is getting entry into, it is opening into a funnel like structure. So this is the ureter, and when it gets entry into the kidney, it is opening to a funnel like structure. Now it is looking like a funnel, right? So this funnel like structure which is present, we call it as what? The renal pelvis. What do we call them? We call them as the renal pelvis. So all the structures I think I have covered, and you know, just I will read it out. Inside the kidney there are two zones. Outer I told you it is cortex, inner it is medulla. Medulla is divided into conical masses called as what? Medullary pyramids. So these are the conical masses which is called as what? The medullary pyramids, right? Projecting into calyces. So these are the structures. It is the part where it is projecting into, getting entry into. Okay. Cortex extends in between the medullary pyramid as renal columns of Bertini. Columns of Bertini. So cortex is extending into what? The medullary pyramid. So from the cortex, it is entering into the medullary pyramid. So that one we call it as the renal columns of Bertini. Renal columns of Bertini or columns of Bertini. Okay. And thereafter, each kidney has nearly 1 million tubular structures called as nephrons. So inside this you can find each kidney. There are structures called as what? The nephrons, that we will be learning the structure of nephron, okay, which is called as the functional units. Now when you are seeing this nephron is having two parts. One is the glomerulus and other one is the renal tubule. Okay. So what is glomerulus and renal tubule? You can find this is the structure of the nephron. So this is the glomerulus. You can find the Bowman's capsule with the blood capillaries. We call it as what? The glomerulus. And thereafter you can find this is the tubular structure which is present. This one we call it as what? The renal tubule. So this is the what is that? Glomerulus. And thereafter you can find the yellow color tube like structure which is present. That one we call it as what? The renal tubule. Okay. So that is regarding your nephron. Glomerulus is a tuft of capillaries formed by the afferent arteriole, a fine branch of renal artery. Blood from the glomerulus is carried away by the efferent arteriole. Okay. So how I will explain. So when you can find to the kidney. So in the kidney there are millions of what present? Nephrons are present. So these nephron, if you are seeing here, everywhere you can find millions of nephrons are present. How the nephrons will be present? So imagine this is the kidney. So this is the medulla part, this is the cortex. Here you can find on the cortex the glomerulus and all will be present. From there the tubules will start. Proximal convoluted tubule will be present here. Henle's loop will go to the medulla. Again distal convoluted tubule will come here. Thereafter they will join the collecting duct. Okay. So here you can find that structure. So this part is present over the cortex. Where it is present? Over the cortex. Okay. So many nephrons are present. All this nephron, this part is present in the cortex and this part is present in the medulla. Okay. So cortex, when you are seeing this glomerulus, how it is? It is a tuft of capillaries, I told you, isn't it? So you can find how it is going, this afferent arteriole. So actually when the blood gets in, okay, so renal artery, what is the structure? Renal artery is taking the blood into the kidney. After entering into the kidney, the renal artery divides into many minute capillaries. We call it as what? Afferent arteriole. What do we call them? Afferent arteriole. So this blood is moving to each and every. So from this is the renal artery. After moving into the kidney, they are dividing into many capillaries called as what? Afferent arteriole. Each afferent arteriole is moving into one nephrons. So like that you can find here the afferent arteriole has moved into one of the nephron. Okay. So thereafter this afferent arteriole, after moving into, divides into many capillaries. So these are the many capillaries. This is afferent arteriole getting entry into the nephron. Thereafter it is dividing into many blood capillaries, and there only what is taking place in this cup like structure called as Bowman's capsule, yellow part, there filtration takes place. What takes place? Filtration. So blood is getting filtered here. Thereafter, after the filtration is over, the blood is moving out. Okay. So the one which is taking out from this Bowman's capsule, the blood which is coming out is carried by another arteriole, which we call it as what? Arteriole. Smallest arteries, means artery, the smaller than arteries they are. Okay. So that is being carried out by whom? This efferent arteriole. Is that clear? So through afferent arteriole it is getting in blood into each and every nephron. Afferent artery, from where it is coming? Renal artery is getting into the kidney, dividing into many afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole is moving into nephrons. Okay. So like that millions of nephrons are there. So oxygenated but impure blood is moving into. After moving into, they are giving it to what? This Bowman's capsule, they are filtering from the blood all the waste materials, and you can find what? Through the efferent arteriole, the blood is coming out. Okay. So after coming out, you can find again they are dividing into many capillaries, and they are present nearer to that of the other parts of the kidney nephron. So what are the different parts where you see it is the first one when you are looking into the structure. So this is your Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule is leading to proximal convoluted tubule, then it will lead to Henle's loop, thereafter it is leading to distal convoluted tubule, and then it will be leading to collecting duct. Okay. So this is the structure you can find. So Bowman's capsule, okay, this is the proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct. So this part is present in the cortex and this part is present in the medulla. So you can find this is cortex and this one is outer medulla, this is what? The inner medulla. Like this the structure of nephron is. So these are, you can find the red part which is covering the Henle's loops are all what? The blood capillaries. The name of the blood capillary is vasa rexha. What do we call them there? Vasa rexha. Okay. So efferent artery, immediately after coming out, they divide into many capillaries and get surrounds the which one? The tubules of the nephron. So that one we call it as what? We call them as the vasa rexha. Okay. So that is the blood capillaries which are covering the tubules. So what are the tubules? Proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop, yellow one, okay, distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct. Hope this is clear to you people. Next we are going to discuss about urine formation. What we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss about urine formation. Before that, structure of nephron, once more I will just say, afferent arteriole, through that the blood is moving into the nephron. The blood is dividing, the afferent arteriole is dividing into many capillaries called as glomerulus. Thereafter you can find from the glomerulus, when you are seeing one is artery is moving out, which we call it as the efferent arteriole, which after coming out divides into many capillaries called as vasa rexha. This is regarding blood. Now in the kidney, the nephron, you can find a cup-like structure present, we call it as the Bowman's capsule, which is moving on to the next part, which we call it as what? The proximal convoluted tubule. This part is proximal convoluted tubule. This U-shaped part we call it as the Henle's loop or loop of Henle. And thereafter you can find this part we call it as the distal convoluted tubule, and this tubular part, yellow part, we call it as what? The collecting duct. So this is the structure of nephron. Hope it's clear. Now Malpighian body. What do you mean by Malpighian body? This portion we call it as what? The Malpighian body. It contains what and all? It contains the Malpighian, glomerulus, Bowman's capsule. Combined together we call it as what? We call them as the Malpighian body. Is that clear? So next we are going to discuss about urine formation. So next we are going to discuss about urine formation. So in urine formation, it involves three main processes. So what are the processes? The first process is glomerular filtration, the second process is reabsorption, and the third process is secretion. Okay. So as the name suggests, I will just brief it first and then we will explain in detail. Okay. So what do you mean by glomerular filtration? Glomerular filtration means when the fluid, means the blood is moving into the kidney through the renal artery, thereafter it is moving where? It is moving through the afferent arteriole into the nephron, isn't it? So thereafter, after moving into the nephron, the afferent arteriole is branching themselves and forming a tuft of capillaries, which we call it as what? We call them as the glomerulus, isn't it? So thereafter you can find it is present, means this tuft of capillaries is being kept in a cup-like structure, this one, which we call it as what? The Bowman's capsule. Now this Bowman's capsule, when you see this Bowman capsule and this is the glomerulus, okay. So imagine this blood vessels, that is the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule, between them there are three layers. How many layers are there? Three layers. So from there, through the blood, the filtrate will be reaching the Bowman's capsule. Okay. So what are the three layers which are present? Listen very carefully. So this is the glomerulus. So the glomerulus is having a covering layer, isn't it? So they are having what? One layer. This blood capillary is made up of one layer. So that is one layer. Thereafter, Bowman's capsule, when you are seeing this, Bowman capsule is having the second layer. So, second layer is done. In between this glomerulus as well as the Bowman's capsule, in order to attach these two together, there is a membrane present, which we call it as the basement membrane. So, basement membrane. So, the blood has to get filtered. It is getting filtered through 3 filter papers. So, what are the 3 filter papers? One is the covering of the endothelium of the blood vessels. Okay, so this is the blood vessel. Imagine this is the blood vessel, means that covering, that membrane they have to cross. Then there is a membrane called as what? The basement membrane. Then there is a membrane which is present in the Bowman's capsule, which we call it as what? The epithelial layer of the Bowman's capsule. So, they have to cross these 3 layers and reach. So, from the blood, the filtered, all what is getting filtered has to cross through the blood capillary wall. Thereafter, they have to cross through the basement membrane, and then they have to cross to the Bowman's capsule's membrane, and then only they can reach what? The Bowman's capsule. Okay. So, this process we call it as ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration. What is the advantage of this is that in the blood, what and all is present, all the impurities, everything is getting filtered. Ultra, as the name suggests, ultra means what? Much amount is getting filtered. All the substances, excess water, nutrients, hormones, medicine what you are taking, everything is getting filtered excepting the proteins. Okay, the rest all materials, vitamins, okay, everything is getting what? The filtered, as well as the urea definitely is getting filtered. So, since all the most of the particles are filtered, we call it as what? Glomerular filtration, or we call them as the ultrafiltration. Okay. Next is your tubular reabsorption or reabsorption. So, what do you mean by reabsorption? I told you. So, when the blood is moving into the Bowman's capsule through afferent arteriole, it is dividing into many tuft of capillaries called as glomerulus. So, from there in the Bowman's capsule, actually what is happening? The blood is getting filtered, isn't it? So, it is passing through the 3 membranes and the blood is reaching the Bowman's capsule. Now, when it is reaching the Bowman's capsule, listen. So, it contains all the good as well as the bad materials, everything is present. Now, what is the role of this thing? Next process is that tubular reabsorption. So, what is tubular reabsorption? Bad things are going out of my body, it's good, but I am giving this much money, buying everything so difficultly, I am having my food, okay, affording all the sort of nutrients and everything is going out of my body, whether it is good, it's not that good, right? So, what happens is that after the ultrafiltration, the filtrate, what is reaching over here, it is moving through the tubules. First, it will move through the proximal convoluted tubule, then it will move to the Henle's loop, thereafter it will move to the distal convoluted tubule, then it will come to the collecting duct. So, when this filter is moving through the tubules, I told you, the blood after moving out of the Bowman's capsule, it will divide into efferent arteriole, and this efferent arteriole will divide into a network of capillaries, we call it as what? The vasa rexha. So, what happens is that through the vasa rexha, when it is surrounding these what is that? Proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop and distal convoluted tubules, they are the blood capillaries are, efferent arteriole is dividing and surrounding them. So, what happens when they are surrounding them is that they are nearer to these tubules. So, this tubules, when you are seeing, when the filtrate is moving through these tubules, from the filtrate, the blood capillaries which is present, what the blood capillaries do is that they used to reabsorb, you know, they are taking out the good things, the excess water, the water which is needed, okay. So, that and all salts, NaCl needed, good things, what and all is to be retained by our body. So, that what they do is that they used to reabsorb. So, that process we call it as what? Tubular reabsorption. So, first filtration, everything has gone into the tubule now, mostly good as well as bad. From the filtrate which has been collected by the Bowman's capsule, which is moving through the tubules, in the tubules they are surrounded by what? The blood capillaries. And what is this blood capillaries doing is that they are reabsorbing the things which is needed by our body into the blood itself. Okay. So that process we call it as what? Tubular reabsorption. The last process is tubular secretion. So moving on to this tubular secretion, in spite of reabsorption, this tubules, when you see this proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule, all these tubes, what they do is that they do secrete something and put it into the filtrate. Okay. So what they are secreting, you can find here K plus ion is secreted, H plus ion is secreted. Okay. So H plus ion is secreted, NH3 ions are secreted. So like that, some substances are secreted by these tubules. So tubules are secreting something and putting it into the filtrate. So that process we call it as what? Tubular secretion. Tubules are secreting some of the ions and it is putting it into the filtrate. Now, why they are secreting? There is a question, isn't it? So why they are secreting? Listen carefully. So this is the structure of the nephron. I told you this is the cortex. This one is the outer medulla, this portion, okay, and this one is the inner medulla. Now, when you are looking into the structure, actually why they are secreting substances? There should be some concentration difference. Then only particles move from a region of one high concentration to a region of low concentration, isn't it? So, I have to take out something from here, which is very important. Imagine this tubules, from these tubules I have to take out NaCl. Here is given, this given, NaCl I have to take out, water I have to take out, okay. So I have to take out something from these into my blood capillaries, or it has to move out of the tubules, it has to come out, means I have to create differences in the ionic concentration. Ionic concentration means what? I have to give something here so that positive charge is becoming more and here it is becoming less, so that particles from here higher part will be moving into this. So something I have to take it out, like bicarbonates is very important, so I want to reabsorb that. But hydrogen, potassium ions are not that important. So I will be doing what? I will be giving something and supplementing those ions, ionic concentration, plus, minus, everything, so that substances can move out. There is no problem, no issues. Okay. So in order to maintain, we call them as osmoregularity. What is that? Osmolarity. Osmolarity means only if the ions, salts, everything is present inside the fluid, from a region of higher concentration, water will be moving to the region of low concentration. Okay. Along with that, so this fluid which is present inside this medulla cortex, we call it as what? The medullary fluid. In the medulla, what is present, we call it as what? The medullary fluid. So in this fluid there should be some ions. Okay. So these ions, salts, NaCl and all has to be present. Urea have to move from one place to another, means something has to be secreted by the tubules and given, so that good things, if it is going out also, the other ions which are not that important to our body is supplementing those things, that by concentration is maintained both inside as well as the outside the fluid, means between inside the collecting duct as well as inside the tubules as well as outside, the concentration is getting maintained. Okay. This we will be discussing in detail when we are discussing about mechanism of urine formation in detail. Now we are just seeing what we have discussed once. Okay. So first is what? Glomerular filtration. So the filtration of the blood which is carried out by the glomerulus, we call it as what? Glomerular filtration. You can see in a minute, okay, per minute, around 1100 to 1200 ml of blood is filtered by kidneys, okay, by the kidneys per minute. This much is filtered. Okay. So I told you glomerular capillary blood pressure. So there is a pressure, you can find these since there are much amount of capillaries, the blood is moving through one vessel, and thereafter you can find many blood capillaries are present, so there will be very high pressure there. Okay. This pressure is helping in filtration parts. Okay. So they are helping in what? Filtration. So causes filtration of the blood through three layers. I told you, one is the endothelium of the blood vessels. So the glomerular blood vessels, the endothelium is the first part. Second is the epithelial layer of the Bowman's capsule and the basement membrane. So the blood capillaries, first membrane endothelium, Bowman's capsules membrane, in between there is a basement membrane. Through these three layers only what has to pass? The blood has, the filter has to part. From the blood all the substances are getting filtered. Okay. The epithelial cells of the Bowman's capsule. Now to your information, the epithelial cells of the Bowman's capsule. So if you are seeing the Bowman's capsule, the epithelial cells of the Bowman capsule is having small pores. These pores we call it as podocytes. What do we call them? We call it as the podocytes or the filtration slits through which the substances are getting filtered. Okay. So that you have to remember. Podocytes arranged in intrinsic manner, integrate manner means inside. So they are leaving what? Minute spaces. Okay. Pores like structure called as filtration slits or slit pores. Blood is filtered so finely through these membranes. Okay. That almost all the constituents of plasma, you know, fluid part of the blood, all the constituents I told you excepting the protein is getting filtered, okay, into the Bowman's capsule. This process is called as what? Ultrafiltration. So per minute how much amount of filter is produced in the Bowman's capsule is called as glomerular filtration rate. So what is GFR? It is glomerular filtration rate, which means per minute how much amount of filter is collected in the Bowman's capsule. Okay. The second is what? Tubular reabsorption. So you know nearly all the essential nutrients in the ultrafiltration is getting filtered, isn't it? So it is reaching what? The Bowman's capsule, 70 to 80% of electrolytes, water, everything is reaching what? The Bowman's capsule. So when through the Bowman's capsule the filtrate is moving through the PCT, okay, maintaining the pH, ionic balance of the body fluids, okay. So we have to maintain that one. So they are selectively secreting what? Hydrogen ions, ammonia, potassium and all are secreted and put into, and they are absorbing what? Bicarbonate ions from it. So in order to maintain the balance between the inside fluid as well as the outside blood, medullary interstitial fluid blood, they either secrete or they reabsorb. Okay, so like that reabsorption is also taking place. Henle's loop, if you see, this region plays a significant role in maintaining high osmolarity of the medullary interstitial fluid. So the descending lymph of the Henle's loop is permeable to water but almost impermeable to electrolytes. So the descending lymph is permeable to water but not to the salts, but not to the ions. So you can find here when the filter is moving through this membrane of the Henle's loop, descending lymph. So this is descending lymph, this is ascending lymph. Okay. So the descending lymph of the Henle's loop, when you are seeing, they are permeable to water but not to electrolytes. Electrolytes means what? The different ions. Okay. To that they are not permeable. Salts, they are not permeable. They are permeable to only water. So water from here will be moving out. Understood? So water is moving out, and what is there inside? The salts, the electrolytes and all will be present inside the loop. Okay. So here when it is passing down, actually the urine become more concentrated. Why it is becoming more concentrated? Because salt is not coming out, water is coming out. So water is less. So dissolving capacity is lost. So the salts and electrolytes are becoming more. In that case what happens? It will become hypertonic, isn't it? So here when it is coming down, the urine will become more concentrated. But when it is moving up through the ascending limb of the Henle's loop, the permeability changes. The permeability means what? Allowing what to come in and what to go out changes. Now these walls of Henle's loop, what they do is that they will allow salts to move out but not water. So water will be retained, but what can move out? Salt can move out. Now when the salt is moving out, the salt concentration is decreasing. So what will happen? The urine will become more dilute. So when it is moving out, you can find the urine is becoming dilute. Here the space is increasing, which means that they have become dilute. So when the urine, filtrate is coming down through the descending lymph, since water is moving out, it is becoming concentrated urine. When it is moving up, water cannot move, only salts are moving out, so they become dilute. Okay. So that is what we have to look into Henle's loop. So in this region, So in case of proximal convoluted tubule, what happened? Proximal convoluted tubule, both secretion is also taking place and absorption, reabsorption is also taking place. In case of Henle's loop, what is taking place? Here, the descending limb of Henle's loop is permeable to water, which means they will allow the water to pass through the membrane, but they do not allow electrolytes. So it concentrates the filtrate, it is becoming much concentrated. But the ascending limb is impermeable to water, but it allows transport of what? The salts. Actively or passively they can move. Therefore, the concentrated filtrate pass upward, it gets diluted. Okay, the electrolytes are moving out, water is there, that's why it is getting what? Diluted. That is what you have to note when coming to Henle's loop. Now, distal convoluted tubule, what it is doing? Here also reabsorption is taking place. Sodium ions which are present inside the tubule is getting reabsorbed, water is getting reabsorbed. Okay, reabsorption of bicarbonates HCO3 minus is taking place, and they are secreting. This distal convoluted tubule is doing secretion. What they are secreting? So proximal and distal convoluted tubule both do reabsorption as well as secretion. Some substances is secreted, some substances reabsorbed. Okay, in order to get some substance, I have to give something and get the other one, right? So here selective secretion of hydrogen. So hydrogen is secreted, potassium ion is secreted, NH3 is secreted, ammonia is secreted. Okay, so why they are doing? In order to maintain the pH, acidic or basic pH has to be maintained. So this is done with the help of sodium potassium pump, is a mechanism which you will be learning in your higher classes, right? Next, moving on to collecting duct. So today what we have discussed about ultrafiltration done, tubular reabsorption and secretion is taking place here. Here the concentrated urine, dilute urine. Here also you can find what? The tubular reabsorption and secretion is taking place. Then the urine is now reaching, the filtrate is now reaching the collecting duct. In the collecting duct, what is taking place? That's what we are going to discuss next. So in the collecting duct, large amount of water could be reabsorbed. Okay, so water is not let, especially when it comes to summer and all, we lose water through sweating, isn't it? So in that case, water is needed more, and I am not drinking much water means automatically you can find the urine will become much yellow. Why? Because it is becoming highly concentrated. Why? Because here the medullary fluid is present now. So the fluid which is present over here in the kidney, the medulla. So that fluid, what they do is that they help in reabsorbing the water. Water is getting reabsorbed. Okay. So that what happens is that the thing is what the urine is becoming much concentrated. This segment allows passage of small amount of urea into the medullary rate. I told you urea is there in the collecting duct. Some amount of urea will come to the medullary fluid. Why it is coming? I told you again, to maintain osmolarity. Okay, to maintain the pH. It also plays a role in the maintenance of pH and ionic balance. So that is the main importance. pH means what? Hydrogen ion and hydroxyl ion concentration, positive, negative ion concentration. Okay, so ionic balance has to be maintained. So they also, this collecting duct also secrete H plus ion and K plus ions. H plus is hydrogen and K plus is potassium ions. So there are three processes: tubular reabsorption, tubular secretions. So tubular secretion, tubular cells secrete substances like this ammonia into the filtrate. So this is why they are doing it, in order to maintain the ionic and pH balance, that is acid base balance in the urine. Okay, so with this we are coming to the end of the part what we are discussing today, the chapter, that is urine formation. I repeat, so in the urine formation there are three processes. One is glomerular filtration, reabsorption, secretion. All things are filtered. From the filtered, good things are reabsorbed. Okay, needed things are reabsorbed. In order to reabsorb that, something has to be secreted and given, so that only they can take the things which is needed. So that part we call it as what? The secretion. So why this reabsorption and secretion? Some substances are reabsorbed, some substances are secreted. Why it is needed for secretion and all? I told you, in order to maintain osmolarity, concentration of water, in order to maintain ionic balance, in order to maintain pH balance. Some substances are secreted and some substances are reabsorbed. Okay, So to reabsorb something, I have to give something. So that is what taking place during secretion. Understood? So that's why the tubule has to secrete something. With this, we are coming to the end of the portion, urine formation. In the next class, we will be discussing about the mechanism of your urine formation. Okay, so how the concentration of the filtrate is done, mechanism, that in the next class we will discuss. Hope it's clear. Thank you.